with CI in ciLiving.
It's hard to believe it's been more than a century since the Ford Model T first came off the assembly line.
Yeah, as the first mass-produced automobile, the car has become iconic in America. And ciLiving's Ryan Burk met a man in our town, Rossville, who dedicates his life to restoring them.
He really does. I mean, it's almost like, I always say, it's almost more than just restoring or preserving. He's actually literally bringing these things back to life. If you saw the condition that they were in when he got them in, you'd understand what I meant. Now, some people would probably leave these restored cars maybe in their garage or just bring them out to a show, but he likes to actually show the whole world what a difference they make.
A funny thing happens out on the country roads, somewhere deep in the cornfields. Time has a way of standing still. And a trip down the two-lane street Brian Andrews calls home is bound to leave anyone wondering if it's 1916 or 2016. And for him, it was a chance encounter that changed the direction of his life.
A friend of mine who's an auctioneer, I just happened to see him one day, a happen chance. We were talking, he said, "Hey, there's a Model T on an auction next Saturday. You ought to buy it." Well, I went and looked at it, and it was kind of a basket case. Been painted with a paintbrush, barn red.
Andrews is a man who loves a challenge, and that's exactly what he's gotten in restoring a half-dozen Model Ts.
And I rebuilt the rest of it completely from the ground up, and that was a learning process. Took about a year, working, just in spare evenings and spare time.
For the past decade, he's restored Model Ts to their original glory. And while many collectors would lock them away, Brian prefers to keep them where they're meant to be, on the open road.
People look up and they always smile and wave. Well, not always, but most of the time, and it brings enjoyment to the people. And we were on a long tour 3 years ago. 6 of us took our cars and started from here and drove to Canada and back in the cars. We were going 1,800 miles in 13 days.
Getting these cars back on the road is a goal for Andrews, who says it helps spread the history of America.
You know what makes this experience so unique is that so often when you see classic cars, they're just on display in a museum or out at a show. But here, to actually feel the wind blow through your hair, it's a pretty incredible experience.
And if you'll go to a tour where there are a lot of cars, you'll see what we call trailer queens. They've been spit polished, rebuilt, everything's perfect, and they don't want to drive them on where they get them dusty, And then you'll see the others, we call them drivers. Most of mine are drivers.
Whether it's being out on the road or at a show, Brian loves to connect a new generation to this car from the past.
So, these cars, a lot of them turned 100 years old the last few years, starting from 2009 on up. They can't believe that they're still running, that they're still around. And then they get into questions like, what was the original owner? These sort of things.
With so many classic cars out there, it means a lot to be able to share such an iconic one. And he's glad to have others who share his passion.
If it would have been an Oldsmobile or a Chevy or something, I suppose that's what I would have got. That's what I would have started with. We got into a Model T club by having that, met some people, and that's turned into some really great friendships and good information. Most of them have been in it for a longer period of time.
A passion worth sharing with the world, because whether it's 1916 or 2016, perhaps the best way to fly through history is by never leaving the ground.
Now, if you're watching this saying, boy, I'd really like to see those Model Ts in person, well, aren't you in luck? Brian is actually going to be out at our Town Rossville broadcast coming up this Friday at Chrisman Park starting at 4. So really neat to check out. People kind of have that idea of like certain Model Ts, but there's big diversity as you see with those, and he's going to have some out.
Well, our production manager, Pete, had just said, he was impressed by the fact that there was one that wasn't black, because I think that's the stereotype we think of. Pretty much all old cars. They were just painted black.
Yeah, well, the little variety there. And a lot of these were kind of the more recent Model Ts, if that's a good way to describe it. The late 20s.
Depression
so a little
era
different,
versus
exactly.
The yeah.
Now, hey, if you have a story idea, we want you to let me know. You can find me on Facebook, Twitter, or send me an email. You can always keep those coming. We always need plenty of them, so send them our way.